Broadcasting from New York City to the world, it's the G-Man Interviews.
Welcome. On November 14, 2015, the G-Man Interviews posted an investigative report on Arizona resident Nancy Waldrop's effort to obtain explanations and detailed information from state and local officials regarding water levels. A year earlier, the Arizona Daily Sun published a front-page story on Waldrop, a portion of which stated, "In a state where experts expect future generations of residents will have to find hundreds of billions of gallons more water to continue living here, there are shockingly few regulations governing the resource's use in rural areas." Nearly 3 years have passed since Waldrop, the daughter of a former U.S. Navy SEAL, appeared on the show to discuss the issue. However, according to Waldrop, the situation has only gotten worse. The self-proclaimed military brat recently submitted 2 video reports to the G-Man Interviews and sister site From the G-Man, in which she alleges the offices of Senator John McCain and Governor Doug Ducey, along with many of the candidates running in the August 28th primary election, have ignored or simply refused to address the water crisis. If you reside in Arizona or another state and have a similar issue, feel free to submit a video report to From the G-Man or the G-Man Interviews at fromthegman@gmail.com. Be sure to include documents and other evidence in your report. That said, here are the video updates submitted by Nancy Waldrop.
Now it is recording.
Hi there. I'm here to do another update on my story that I last did about the Arizona water issues and what's happened to me since that last story that I did. So I continue to try to find help for my well, because it cost me a lot of money to have water hauled in, and has really wrecked the quality of my lifestyle, and it's really decreased the value of my home. So what I did was I went and continued to contact people, and I contacted John McCain's office, and they called me up and they spoke to me, and they sent this letter to the White House, to the governor's office. But of course, I never heard anything from that governor, because he's not going to do anything. So then I contacted the White House, because I feel like maybe water should be a federal issue, because if these states are going to just play games and do whatever they want, then in the end we are the ones who are going to pay for this. And I feel maybe water should be a federal issue. It's a natural resource. So I got a letter from the White House, and basically what they said was they don't really care about natural resources. What they care about is business. Well, if you don't have any water, you're not going to have anything. And so I think it's a really critical issue that needs to be involved. And then there was a story in the local newspaper, and I found this to be quite interesting, because here I was still trying to go on the internet and trying to figure out what's going on with everyone and seeing if anyone was going to change any of the lack of water laws here. And I find out that they're having secret meetings. The governor and other state officials are having secret meetings behind closed doors that the public is not allowed to participate in, talking about what they're going to do about the water. Well, they can't agree about what they're going to do about the water. And they said, oh, well, maybe next year we might work on this. Well, we've been in a severe drought this year, and we've been in a really bad drought for over 7 years. And so they don't want the public to participate in this. And one of the reasons what I have found out is that this all has to do with realtors. See, realtors, if they have to prove water supply, they can't sell as much land to out-of-state buyers. There's all kinds of people that come and want to buy land here, which is great, I did that, but don't know that if you don't have any water, you're going to be hauling water, or maybe there isn't any water to haul, because if you have a lot of haul water homes and they all line up and drain one water source, like the well behind me, then you're going to run out of water. And that's why in the years before, I had to go 35 miles one way to get water, 4 trips, because it takes about 4,000 gallons a month for the average household with no lawn or anything to have water. So that is a huge issue. But also they don't really know, how much water they have. And there's no way of knowing that. So it's all, to me, state-endorsed real estate fraud. And so, yeah, it's the realtors that don't want them to change these laws. But I think that they have to, because this has really ruined my house and my quality of life. So as you'll see here, the water company behind me here, there's this real estate office, and there's a store over there, and there's a restaurant that's been for sale for years. Because they're not going to, they say, oh, well, we have good producing wells, but you don't know if you have good producing wells at all, because you're right next to a water company. So you're going to buy a hall water restaurant? And my house is right there behind that fence. And my well is 60 feet behind that. And so all of this has really been a serious issue for me. And I've gone to county meetings, and the county meeting, they said that we weren't really allowed to talk about water because they weren't allowed to talk about water, and yet they issued the permit to that water company here in the middle of 5 wells without any thought about the impact that was going to happen in the future on that. So it's a real dirty deal. And then also I went to another meeting a few weeks ago, and it was another state meeting, and this was just an general water meeting where they basically said they're not going to change any water laws, and that developers still in certain areas do not have to prove water supply, and after the first time a house is sold, they don't have to disclose any of that information to buyers. So all of this has just really been a nightmare, and it's really horrible, and I'm so sorry that I invested my money in Arizona, but I just wanted to give you an update and tell you that nothing has changed, and that maybe you still need to be aware, because they don't seem to care at all. It's just all state-endorsed real estate fraud. Okay. Hi there. I'm just doing a video here. It's an update to my story that I did before about Arizona real estate. And I'd like to tell you some of the things that I've done, because I've still continued to work on it. So I contacted John McCain's office, and they talked to me, and they sent me a letter, and they sent a letter to the governor's office asking them to help me. But of course, the governor never responded. So then I contacted the White House, and I was thinking that, you know, maybe if states can't properly handle water, then maybe water needs to be a federal issue, because water is a natural resource that's vital to us. I feel that it's also part of the Constitution, because I believe you have to have that in order to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. They sent me a letter, and the letter said that they weren't really concerned about natural resources. What they were really concerned about is having businesses, you know, starting up businesses. Well, if you don't have water, you're not going to have businesses. So that was a dead end. And so then I found a newspaper article that I thought was very interesting. And it said that the state representatives had all been getting together, having secret closed-door meetings that the public is not allowed to be in. And what they are doing is they are trying to discuss water and the water situation. And what they decided was that they couldn't come to any sort of agreement about it. And the reason why is because developers and real estate agents, they don't want these water laws here. And the reason why they don't want these water laws here is because they won't be, if they have to supply water and disclose issues about water, they're not going to be able to sell very much real estate to out-of-state buyers like me and you. So they said, oh, well, maybe we'll deal with it next year. Well, you know, I think that's really horrible, because there's so many people just like me that are just we're totally in a terrible situation, because I'm having to pay $200 a month to have water hauled in. That's devalued my house by over $100,000. And when you sell a bunch of haul water houses, which is what they do when they don't have any water supply, they just tell people they can haul water. Well, what happens is when a bunch of people line up and drain one water supply, which is what happens, then you've ruined that water supply instead of spreading things out by having wells. The other little interesting thing I found out was the original well that they dug from the real estate office next to my well was actually dug by their septic tank. So it was a totally illegal well. Arizona Department of Water Resources issued them a permit to dig a completely and totally illegal well and to use it. So when they punched through and lost the water, that's when they put in the other well. So all of that was completely and totally illegal. No one will really address it to me or anything. And then the other thing I found out is with these haul water houses, or any houses, especially a haul water house, if there's a fire, you only got a few thousand gallons in your cistern for you to fight that fire. So you're not going to really be fighting that fire. And if you live outside of little areas, we have volunteer fire department here, and you live outside of those areas, you have to pay to have those firefighters come to your house and fight that fire. Also, if that has an impact on the kind of homeowner's insurance you can get. So I didn't really know that little interesting fact either. So I also went to a county meeting, because it was about the conditional use permit for the water company, because it had come up, and they said, well, you're not allowed to talk about water, and we're not allowed to talk about water. Yet they are the ones who knowingly issued that real estate agent a permit to put a water company in the middle of 5 wells. And that store across the street, and they're trying to sell that restaurant, is completely impacted by that, because when you are next to a water company, it draws down all the other wells. So you're going to buy a haul water restaurant. So it has impacted the value of all these additional properties. So this is what I wanted everyone to know, that I've gotten nowhere and that no one will talk to me. And we have an election this year for the governor, so I think it's really important for everyone to totally understand that this is something that you need to bring up to them. I've brought that up to all the candidates, and they say that, oh, well, we're really interested. But I'll tell you one thing, when they talk about what the issues are, they're not talking about water. They're not going to bring that up for public debate. So I still think that moving here was a huge mistake, and I would really like everyone to share this I wanted to share this information with everyone to know that they don't really care about you, and they're not going to do anything to help you. Okay, bye.